The knife slipped from Cooper's trembling hand, clattering against the marble countertop like a gunshot in the empty kitchen. As the email on his phone burned into his retinas. "You're fired, effective immediately. Your services are no longer required." But it wasn't his knife. It was the one he'd forged himself, the blade that had carved his empire from nothing, now twisting in his gut because the sender was his own board, the very wolves he'd fed for a decade. He stared at the screen, heart pounding like the bass in a dive bar on a Friday night, the kind where secrets spill over cheap whiskey. Cooper Harlan, 32-year-old CEO of Harlan's Hearth, a chain of upscale steakhouses that dotted the Manhattan skyline like jewels on a crown, had built it all from a single grease-stained apron in his grandma's Brooklyn diner. Now, they were calling it quits on him? No, not quits. Betrayal. Whispers of embezzlement. Inflated costs. A manager skimming off the top like fat from a ribeye. And the kicker? The board wanted him out before the auditors descended, painting him as the fall guy. "Fuck this," Cooper muttered, his voice a low growl echoing off the stainless steel surfaces of his flagship location on West 57th. It was 2 a.m. The restaurant shuttered, the city outside humming with oblivious energy. Taxis honking, neon flickering like false promises. He wasn't going down without a fight. Not like this. He'd go in undercover, pose as a line cook or busboy, whatever it took to sniff out the rot from the inside. No one would recognize him. He'd shave the designer stubble, ditch the tailored suits for faded jeans and a hoodie, maybe even adopt a limp to sell the down-on-his-luck story. By dawn, Cooper Harlan would be dead to them all. Long live. What? Jake? Yeah, Jake Riley, fresh off a bad breakup, scraping by in the Big Apple. As the first rays of a gritty November sun clawed through the blinds, Cooper, now Jake, stepped out the back alley door, the chill biting like an old lover's regret. The restaurant wouldn't open for hours, but he had a shift to start at 8 a.m., forged credentials in his pocket courtesy of a shady contact from his law school days. His pulse raced, not from fear, but from the thrill of reinvention. For the first time in years, he felt alive, unscripted, the weight of boardrooms and balance sheets sloughing off like yesterday's specials. The crew trickled in as the coffee pot gurgled to life, hardened vets with tattoos snaking up their forearms, wide-eyed newbies dodging elbows in the cramped prep station. Marco, the sous chef with a perpetual scowl and a gold tooth that flashed like a warning, barked orders without looking up from his mise en place. "New guy. Jake, right? You're on Expo today. Don't fuck it up, or I'll have your ass on the street faster than last night's leftovers." Jake nodded, swallowing the urge to fire back that this was his street, his ass on the line. Instead, he grabbed a stack of plates, steam rising like ghosts from the pass, and got to work. The rhythm hit him quick, sizzle of steaks on the grill, clink of glassware. The symphony of chaos that had once been his lullaby. But something was off. Inventory logs on the shared tablet showed discrepancies. Prime cuts vanishing into thin air, wine bottles logged but never poured. And the manager, Trent, a slick 40-something with a Rolex that screamed, guilty, kept vanishing into the office with envelopes that looked too fat for tips. By lunch rush, sweat beaded on Jake's brow, his arms aching from hauling trays heavier than his regrets. That's when he saw him, Alex, broad shoulders straining against a crisp black button-down, dark curls tousled just enough to look effortless, olive skin glowing under the pendant lights like he'd been kissed by the Mediterranean sun. Alex was the lead server, gliding through the dining room with a tray balanced like poetry. His laugh, a deep, rumbling thing, cutting through the din as he charmed a table of Wall Street suits. Their eyes met across the chaos. Alex's green ones, sharp and curious, locking onto Jake's for a beat too long. Jake's stomach flipped, not from the heat, but from the spark. Shit, he thought, not now. Not here. The shift dragged into evening, the restaurant swelling with the after-work crowd, power lunches bleeding into power dinners, the air thick with cigar smoke and whispered deals. Jake stole glances at Alex between runs to the kitchen, catching the way his hands moved with quiet grace, fingers long and calloused from years of pouring dreams into wine glasses. At close, as the last patrons stumbled out into the neon night, Alex cornered him by the dish pit. "You're new, huh? Jake, right? You handle the rush like you've done this before. Where'd you come from?" Jake wiped his hands on a towel, forcing a grin that felt foreign on his face. Ohio. Small town, big dreams. Crashed and burned in a spot upstate. Figured New York's where you go to get lost. Alex leaned against the sink, arms crossed, that smile tugging at his lips like a secret. Lost, huh? I know the feeling. Name's Alex. Been here 2 years, started as a busboy, clawed my way up. Trent's a prick, but the tips make it worth it. His eyes flicked over Jake, appraising, warm. You got that look, though, like you've got stories that'd keep a guy up all night. Heat crept up Jake's neck, and for a second, the lie tasted bitter. Maybe someday, over a beer. Alex's laugh was genuine, stripping away the exhaustion. You're on. Tuesdays are double off. Meet me at the Rusty Anchor. Dive on 9th. 8 p.m. Don't stand me up, Ohio. As Alex sauntered out, Jake's heart hammered. This wasn't part of the plan. Undercover meant shadows, not spotlights. Not the pull of a stranger's gaze that promised more than just intel. But New York had a way of rewriting rules, and as he locked up the back door, the city lights blurring into a haze, Cooper wondered if getting lost might be the only way to find himself again. The next few days blurred into a grind of grease and grit, Jake slipping deeper into the skin he'd borrowed. Mornings started with inventory checks, his eyes scanning for the phantom discrepancies that had toppled his throne. Afternoons were a ballet of orders shouted over the sizzle, filet mignon medium rare for table 12, double-cut pork chop for the asshole in the corner booth. Evenings? That's when the real show began, the dining room transforming into a stage for the city's elite, where deals were sealed over seared scallops and sidelong glances hid hungers far from the menu. Trent was the snake in the garden, always one step ahead. Jake caught him twice. Once, slipping a wad of cash into his pocket after a private tasting with a supplier. The other time deleting entries from the POS system with the casual flick of a finger. But proof? Elusive as a sober night in this town. Jake's notebook, tucked in his locker like a confessional, filled with scribbles. Trent plus Vinny, delivery guy, equals 3 p.m. meet, alley. Missing 50 cases Bordeaux? He needed more. Needed to get close. Alex made it easy to forget the mission, though. Their Tuesday beer turned into a ritual. Stolen hours at the Rusty Anchor, where the jukebox crooned Springsteen and the bartender poured without questions. Alex was 28, a transplant from Chicago, chasing a stalled acting dream that had fizzled into serving slop to the one-percenters. I wanted the lights, the applause, he'd say, nursing a IPA, his knee brushing Jake's under the scarred wooden table. Ended up with fluorescent bulbs and fake smiles. But hey, beats flipping burgers back home. Jake, Cooper underneath it all, found himself unraveling, thread by thread. He'd spin tales of Midwest winters and a Phantom X who couldn't handle the city. Watching Alex's face soften, those green eyes pulling confessions like gravity. One night, after the third round, Alex's hand lingered on Jake's arm, thumb tracing a vein with featherlight intent. You're different, you know? Not like the burnout bros who cycle through. You've got fire. Buried, maybe, but there. The kiss happened on the fire escape of Alex's walk-up in Hell's Kitchen. Rain slicking the metal steps, the city a distant roar below. Jake had walked him home, buzzed on cheap hops and unspoken want. And when Alex turned, key in hand, the air crackled. Their mouths met tentative at first, salt and smoke, hesitation melting into hunger. Alex tasted like possibility, hands fisting in Jake's shirt, pulling him close until the world narrowed to the press of bodies. The gasp of breath shared in the downpour. It was messy, urgent, the kind of kiss that rewrote maps. After, tangled in Alex's sheets, faded band posters peeling from the walls, a half-read script dog-eared on the nightstand. Jake lay awake, Alex's head on his chest, steady snores rumbling like thunder. Guilt gnawed at him, sharp as a dull knife. This wasn't recon. This was real. Cooper Harlan didn't do real. Not since his last boyfriend. A Wall Street shark who'd bailed when the empire started crumbling, leaving Cooper with a penthouse full of echoes. But Alex? He was the antidote, all rough edges and quiet depths, making Jake want to burn the disguise and step into the light. Yet the shadows lengthened. A week in, Jake overheard Trent in the office, voice low on the phone. Yeah, the new guy's nosy. Keep an eye. Harlan's ghost is breathing down our necks. Boards panicking. Harlan's ghost. The words hit like a gut punch. They knew something was up, but not who. Jake's cover was fraying, and with it, the fragile thing blooming between him and Alex. The double shift on Friday tested every nerve. Lunch bled into dinner, the kitchen a pressure cooker of egos and exhaustion. Marco screamed at a prep cook for underseasoning the béarnaise. A VIP table sent back the osso buco, calling it tough as old boots. Jake expoed like a machine, but his eyes kept drifting to Alex in the dining room, weaving through tables with that effortless charm, flashing smiles that lingered on Jake a fraction too long. Break came late. The alley behind the restaurant a sanctuary of dumpsters and discarded dreams. Jake lit a cigarette, a habit he'd quit years ago, revived for authenticity, and exhaled smoke like frustration. Footsteps crunched gravel. Alex appeared, tie loosened, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms dusted with dark hair. "Escaping the madness?" Alex asked, stealing the cig and taking a drag, coughing lightly with a grin. "Something like that." Jake leaned against the brick, the cool stone grounding him. "You ever feel like you're playing a part? Like the real you's locked in a cage somewhere?" Alex's expression shifted, smoke curling from his lips like a sigh. "Every damn day. This job is a costume. But with you." He stepped closer, the space between them electric. "Feels like I can breathe." Their kiss this time was slower, deliberate. Alex's hands cupping Jake's face, thumbs brushing stubble. A tenderness that cracked something open in Jake's chest. Tongues tangled, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces, the world fading to the scrape of teeth, the hitch of breath. Jake's fingers threaded through Alex's curls, pulling just enough to elicit a moan that vibrated against his skin. It was more than lust. It was confession, a bridge over the chasm of lies. But bridges burn. As they broke apart, flushed and breathless, Alex's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at it, face paling. "Trent wants me in the office. Probably some bullshit about upselling the specials." "Watch your back," Jake said, the words heavier than intended. Alex smirked, but his eyes held a shadow. "Always do. See you after close." Jake nodded, watching him go, the alley suddenly colder. That night, as the restaurant emptied, Jake lingered in the shadows of the stockroom, ear pressed to the wall. Muffled voices, Trent's oily tone, Alex's clipped responses. "Leak to the press. Harlan's done. Your cut's waiting." Betrayal landed like a sucker punch. Alex, in on it, the man who'd mapped Jake's scars with kisses, who'd whispered dreams of escaping to the coast together. Jake's vision blurred, rage and grief twisting like a knife in the dark. He slipped out before they emerged, the city streets swallowing him whole. Sleep evaded him that night. Cooper's penthouse, a sterile monument to success on the Upper East Side, feeling more like a tomb. He paced the hardwood floors, city lights mocking him through floor-to-ceiling windows, replaying every touch, every word. Fool. He'd let the mask slip, let Alex in, and now? The evidence was circumstantial, but the hurt was ironclad. By morning, resolve hardened. Confront, expose, end it. But first, gather the proof. One last play. Monday's shift was a minefield. Jake moved like a ghost, avoiding Alex's concerned glances across the floor, his smiles brittle as autumn leaves. The rush hit hard. A private party in the back room, celebs and execs toasting with Harlan's reserve, oblivious to the storm brewing. Jake expoed flawlessly, but his mind raced. Trent's schedule, the safe in the office, the USB drive he'd glimpsed in a drawer. Opportunity knocked at 9 p.m., Trent stepping out for a smoke that smelled like desperation. Jake jimmied the lock, skills from a misspent youth, and rifled through files, heart slamming. Invoices faked, transfers to offshore accounts, emails implicating not just Trent, but Alex, a signature on a deposit slip, his name bold as a lie. Son of a bitch. Footsteps in the hall froze him. The door creaked. Alex stood there, eyes wide. "Jake? What the hell are you?" "No time for games." Jake whirled, USB clutched like a talisman. "How long, Alex? How long have you been bleeding this place dry?" Alex's face crumpled, confusion warring with hurt. "You're what?" "Jake, you're not making sense. Trent's been pushing me to sign off on shit I don't understand. Saying it's harmless admin. I thought it was just covering shifts or..." Lies. Jake's voice cracked, the CEO slipping through. I heard you. In the office. You're cut. The leak. Alex recoiled as if slapped, then surged forward, grabbing Jake's arm. Wait. Your place? What are you talking about? His gaze sharpened, pieces clicking. Holy shit. Harlan. Cooper fucking Harlan. The ghost. The name hung between them, a guillotine blade. Jake Cooper yanked free, chest heaving. Yeah, me. The mark you and your boss decided to fleece. Undercover to root out the thieves, and I fell for the biggest one. No. Alex's voice broke. Raw. I didn't know. Trent cornered me months ago. Debts from my sister's medical bills. Threats to my visa. He said it was loans, not theft. I signed because I was scared. But you? I never. Tears welled, spilling over, his tough facade shattering. This was real, co-op whatever your name is. The nights, the way you looked at me like I was more than a server. That was real. Cooper's world tilted. The USB burning in his fist. Betrayal, yes, but not clean-cut. Alex's eyes, those green depths, pleaded truth, mirroring the ache in his own soul. The kitchen noise swelled beyond the door, a reminder of the empire teetering. Prove it, Cooper whispered, voice hoarse. Help me take him down. Now. Alex nodded, wiping his face, steel returning. The safe, codes in his phone. We do this together. They moved like thieves in their own house. Alex distracting the lingering staff, Cooper cracking the safe with pilfered digits. Documents tumbled out. Ledgers, recordings, the noose Trent had woven. Sirens wailed distant as they slipped out the back. Evidence bundled under jackets. The night air electric with risk and redemption. The boardroom showdown came at dawn, Cooper striding in as himself. Suit sharp, eyes steel. Flanked by lawyers and the damning files. Trent's empire crumbled in under an hour. Arrests? Audits. The board's apologies tasting like ash. Harlan's hearth would survive. Scarred but stronger. Headlines screaming CEO's daring sting. But victory hollowed without Alex. Cooper found him at the rusty Anchor, nursing a black coffee, face haggard in the morning light. It's done, Cooper said, sliding into the booth. Trent's gone. The rot's cut out. Alex looked up, guarded. And me? Your little undercover fling. The word stung. Cooper reached across, hand covering Alex's, calluses meeting like old friends. Not a fling. You. The one who saw through the mask before I did. I was running from ghosts, Alex, my past, my fears. Thought love was just another boardroom deal. But you made me want to stay. Alex's breath hitched, fingers intertwining. I was drowning in my own shit. Secrets, shame. Thought I was poison. But with you, Coop, Jake, whatever, I felt clean. Seen. The kiss that followed was a vow. Slow, deep, sealing fractures with forgiveness. Outside, New York stirred to life. Horns blaring, sidewalks thrumming. But in that booth, time paused, two men rebuilding from ruins. Months later, Harlan's hearth reopened with fanfare. A new menu, fresh faces, and at the helm, not just a CEO, but a partner. Alex traded trays for the front-of-house throne. His ideas infusing the place with soul, farm-to-table twists, queer nights that drew crowds hungry for more than food. Cooper watched him sometimes, from the past, that half-smile returning, the one that said we made it. It wasn't perfect. Nightmares of betrayal lingered. Arguments flared over long hours and old wounds. But in the quiet moments, fire escape rains, tangled sheets, whispered dreams of a coastside escape, they found grace. Love, it turned out, wasn't a conquest. It was undercover work. Patient, raw, revealing the true self one honest glance at a time. In the end, the restaurant wasn't just bricks and beef. It was them, flawed, fierce, unbreakable. And as the city lights twinkled like stars reclaimed, Cooper knew. Some identities weren't hidden. They were chosen.